Hello, everyone, and welcome again to this new unit on reported speech. This video lesson is a supplement to the materials that you have in the course pack. The aim is to help those of you who are still challenged by how to report what someone says and what must be and must not be changed. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to recognize and understand the difference between quoted and reported speech, make the necessary verb tense changes required for formal reported speech, also make the required reference changes in terms of pronouns, adverbs of time, possessive adjectives, etc. Use the correct structure and grammar when reporting statements and questions. And finally, use reported speech for instructions, commands, requests, and invitations. What is reported speech? Reported or indirect speech refers to situations when you tell somebody else what you or another person said before. Obviously, if you report what somebody else says or has said, you do not normally use the speaker's exact words, but you use reported or indirect speech. Therefore, you need to learn how to transform direct speech into reported speech. The structure is a little different depending on whether you want to transform a statement, a question, request, or a command. In what follows, we will cover a set of rules that can help you to know how to proceed, what to take into account, and what to change when reporting direct speech. As an example, consider the situation where Brad Pitt says that he is sick and George Clooney is there listening to him. So when reporting on what Brad said, George said Brad said that he was sick. Okay, you have here an example of indirect speech or reported speech. I hope that you like this illustration. Regarding the structure or form of reported speech statement, it consists of two main parts, namely the reporting clause that consists of an introductory verb, also called reporting verb, such as say, tell, ask, etc., followed by a clause headed by the pronoun that. As in this example, Joel said that he liked that book. As you know, a statement can be affirmative or negative. Here you have an example of both, and the rule is the same regardless of the nature of the statement. That is to say, whether you transform a negative or an affirmative statement in the the reported speech. The structure is the same. You still have to have a reported verb, a subject, and the verb in the corresponding tense, which happens to be here the simple past, and plus, of course, the negation. The order for reported question is the same as in a statement. The subject comes first, or I should say the subject comes before the verb, but we drop the question mark since the statement is affirmative and not interrogative, as illustrated by these examples. The following slides are meant to walk you through the process of reporting commands or orders where the imperative, like here, don't mention that, okay, changes into the infinitive in reported speech. The reporting suggestions, as you can see here, you may either use the verb suggest plus the gerund, or same verb again, suggest, followed by that clause. You will, as you can see from this chart, where you have examples and where the suggestion phrases, let's go, why don't we, shall we, are dropped when we move from the direct to the indirect speech. Here you have the same thing happens for reporting requests, where the politeness expression or word please should be dropped when moving from direct to indirect speech. This chart is very handy in that it sums up and illustrates these rules very clearly. So as you can see here, you have different verbs to express like either command, suggestion, or requests, and different that come into different structures. You have verb plus to plus infinitive, verb plus to plus direct object, verb plus ing, and verb plus that plus clause. Now that you are familiar with the techniques of reporting statements and questions, we will move to survey the changes that affect other parts of speech. We will start with expressions of time, place, and pronouns as summarized by this chart. You can see here adverbs of time and place and their counterparts as we move from direct to indirect speech. It is also important to change pronouns, personal, demonstrative, possessive, in reported speech. These expressions may need to change depending on the perspective and the distance of the speaker. Now we will move to discuss the changes that affect the tenses. Generally, the tense in reported speech is one tense back in time from the tense in direct speech. Thus, the simple present becomes simple past. The past turns into the past perfect, and etc. The same rule holds for modal verbs. Okay, like I said, you will in the comment slide will provide you with a chart with all the verb tenses and the changes that happen to them in reported speech. However, it should be noted that there are situations where the verb tense does not change, as we will see shortly. Like I said before, here is the chart with all the tenses This is part one, okay, where you have the simple through the past perfect, okay, with examples. Here you have the conditional, okay, and the progressive. And what happens when we move from direct speech to indirect speech. Notice also the change in modal verbs where you have can becomes could, may becomes might, and must changes into had to in indirect. As mentioned earlier, you do not need to change the time or rather the tense if the in the reported speech if the original statement is about something that is still true, as in this statement here. You have a classical, here you have as an example, the first one, I go to the gym next to your house. This is a general truth, and it's only a truth if it's still valid. If I still go to that gym which is next to your house, when you're reporting what I said, there is no reason for you to change the tense here to the simple past because I still go to that gym as you report on what I said. And the same thing here for the second and the rest of the sentences. Again here, like we said before, the same rule holds for facts and states. That is, the tense of the code does not change in reported speech when we report on facts and states. And here you have some examples of the classical one about the temperature of water that does not, that changes according to season, or another fact that relates to cats and how they hate water, and train departure spots. All these, are represent facts, and as such, when we report, we do not change the tenses on in reported speech, like I have said throughout this presentation. I hope that this was helpful for you, and like I said before, you have plenty of rules, guidelines, and tips in your course pack, and this should be just a little extra to further clarify things for you. And if you if you still face difficulties, please do not hesitate to get in touch with us and post your questions, comments, or even suggestions on the platform. We'll be more than happy to get back to you. And now it's time for practice, for you to, again, you have plenty of practice in your course pack, and the more you practice, the better you get, like we always say. So here, this is just a straightforward practice to help you recognize reported speech structures. So you are very welcome to post your answers on the platform, just to so that we know how you are doing. And here the same thing to check your tenses, and it's very important here to underscore that you need to know your tenses. This is something that we practiced only in semester 1, and also in the course of this semester. and so you'll need that knowledge here. This activity is again just to help you make sure that you know or you are able to recognize instances of reported speech and distinguish them from direct speech or quoted speech, like we said before. And I hope again that this will be helpful for you. And again, please do not hesitate to get in touch with us and do your homework, do the exercises that you have in the course pack, and as a supplement to this video lesson, you will find plenty of other interactive activities. And also I'm going to upload another activity, a video activity about reported speech, and all this to help you get on top of it. So I think this is all we had to discuss for this session. And I'd like to end this lesson on a positive note, especially in these enduring times where we are confined to our homes. And I'd like to invite each and everyone to believe in themselves and in what they are, and now that there is something inside each one of us that is greater than any obstacle. And thank you very much, and looking forward to interacting with you and reading you soon, inshallah.